The Ians are here. Ian Rogers, the Chief Experience Officer at Ledger. Ian, you have one of the coolest backgrounds of anybody that I've interviewed, and really anybody I've really met. The number of stories that you could tell
I got some stories.
it could fill our time over and over and over again. But I do think it would be fun to talk a bit about Ledger. I feel like Ledger is one of those companies that has brought a lack of anxiety and some security to people in this industry. So can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do at Ledger?
Sure. Well, Ian, thank you. My name is Ian Rogers, and I did 20 years of digital music. I spent 5 years working at LVMH with all of their brands. And what happened to me is I moved to Paris in 2015 to work with LVMH. And one of the first people I met is a guy named Pascal Gauthier. And at the time, Pascal had been the first investor in a little French company called Ledger. And for me, I actually did own some crypto at the time, but I wasn't, familiar with the security side of the business. And I had the opportunity through Ledger and the co-founders to get to know the company over the years that I lived here and my friendship with Pascal. And the realization that I had was that this was sort of an obvious need, because for me, will we have more digital assets in the future? Yes or no is sort of like asking, will the internet grow in 1998, right? There were definitely non-believers, but they were obviously wrong, to be honest with you, right? Like there was no question, when you have an incredible invention, humanity takes over and makes use of it. I don't care if that's fire or the steam engine or, local, or air travel or, nuclear or, the internet or, what we have now is a new human invention, scarce digital goods, right? Critical digital assets that you could lose. So I took a look at Ledger many years ago and said, wait a minute, we're going to have way more digital assets tomorrow than we have today. And security is going to be a core problem because with digital assets, you also have actually a new human right. You have the right of self-custody, right? I mean, you hear, there was news today about liquidity of major exchanges. If that exchange goes bankrupt, what happens to the customer funds? Well, when you hold your own funds on your ledger, if I hold it here, maybe you can see it doesn't disappear into my Beretta. Then you cannot, they cannot be lost because you're holding them. This is your safe. It's also, it's a magic safe, right? Because, if I put in my passcode wrong 3 times, it bricks. So it's actually a safe where I basically, can magically make all the gold disappear from it in the case of an attacker attacking me, and then I have a backup phrase. So I think really there's something that's gigantic here. You have this new human invention, critical digital assets, so the digital scarcity as a new invention, and then you have this new fundamental right, which is self-custody. But as we know, with rights and freedoms come responsibilities, and you have the responsibility of security. So, if you have digital assets and you aren't thinking about your security, if your seed phrase is a screenshot on your phone, I could tell stories, and not the ones you were referencing earlier, but we hear all the security horror stories. We could spend 30 minutes just on that, but you have to think about your security, and actually NFTs have been a really kind of important transition into this world of self-custody. Because if you think about it in the world of kind of cryptocurrency and the concept of cryptocurrency, there are a lot of people who just have some exposure to Dogecoin on Robinhood, right? Now, those people don't own Robinhood. They probably don't even care that they don't actually own Robinhood, right? They just wanted a meme coin. But if you're playing in the world of NFTs, you are playing in the world of self-custody. And if you're playing in the world of self-custody, you have a responsibility to take care of your security. And also, by the way, this is why what we see in NFT communities is that the higher up you go in value, the higher percentage of ledger that you have in the community, right? Because you've got people that are experienced, you have communities that have had big exploits, you have those communities talk to each other, and people know, like, hey, you got to get a ledger, and it really is, and the other thing about this is the difference with Ledger and some other hardware wallets is that it actually has a secure element inside of it. If you don't have one, I mean, what I say to somebody whenever they've got, I've got my Ledger and they've got their, their hardware wallet that doesn't have a secure element, I'm like, why don't we trade for 24 hours? I'll let you borrow mine. You let me borrow yours. Oh, I'll give yours back tomorrow. No one's taken me up on that challenge yet because they can't do anything with mine, but I can hit theirs with a laser and get those keys off in 20 seconds. And so again, we're talking about security, not secure-ish, secure. That's what's important. So anyway, that was a bit long. Now, what I do, my title is Chief Experience Officer. What that means practically is I look after the consumer side of the business. So Ledger has an enterprise product, and we should talk about that relative to NFTs for a second. But I look after the consumer product, which is selling ledgers. That's also Ledger Live. We have a really exciting product, which we'll be talking about at NFT.NYC called Ledger Connect, which I'll tease. And that's what I do. And the title is Chief Experience Officer. That's what Pascal gave me. And when he put it to me and he told me, I want your title to be Chief Experience Officer, I kind of looked at him sideways and was like, okay, what does that mean? And he said, look, when you buy a piece of Apple hardware, you're not buying a piece of hardware. You're buying an experience. You're buying into the ecosystem. And that's what we're trying to create. I used the example with you when we first met that, I remember very well the world of MP3s in 1998 when your computer didn't have a sound card and your sound card didn't have a speaker. And it was a long walk to get, your MP3 to play. Now we take for granted that I open my phone, I hit play on YouTube, Spotify, whatever, and music comes out. But it wasn't that long ago that it didn't work that easily. And that's the same thing in the world of Web3 and NFTs today. There are a lot of hoops to jump through that won't be there. They won't be there in 2 years, let alone 15 years. And that's what we're really working on is how can we make this just incredibly easy to use? I mentioned the enterprise side, and I want to speak to anybody who has an NFT project, because if you have an NFT project, you have value. The question is, how is that value protected? You have contracts. If the contracts to your project and the Ethereum that you hold in your treasury is protected by Web2 hardware like your phone or your computer, you are asking for trouble. You have to own your own contracts. You have to have hardware backing those up. And if you're a company and not just an individual, you have to have governance, right? And what I mean by that is, you're a team. You're not a person. You can't have all the coins sitting with one person, head of IT, head CFO, CEO. That doesn't work. What if that person gets hit by a bus? What if, that person's one password gets hacked? I'm telling you a real horror story that I've heard. CEO's got all their funds on a ledger. 24 words are in his one password. One password gets hacked. Ledger gets drained. Company is a fire sale, right? I mean, we're going to hear these horror stories, unfortunately, from NFT projects. And, NFT projects need to have enterprise security. These guys hold a lot of value. The value's in their treasury, the value's in the contracts. And that's what the enterprise side of this is. So for us, and, we have some really big announcements that I won't give away now, coming at NFT.NYC. But, you can tell where we're going with this is you have to have great enterprise security. You have to have great consumer security. And then the other piece of this is you have to be able to do a drop, with it's secure, without gas wars, without people getting, hacked here and there, and also clear signing. Another way that people get wrecked in NFTs is they're signing with a ledger, but they're blind signing, meaning they're signing a contract, because that's exactly what you're doing when you're bidding on an NFT or buying an NFT. You are signing a contract, but you can't read it. And we all know that, that signing contracts without reading them is a bad idea, particularly when they're like, there's no court of law to go into here, right? I mean, it's immutable and on the blockchain as soon as I sign it. So you need to know what is in that contract and what is the impact of signing this contract on my wallet. So that's the other thing that we have to solve as a community. And so we're working on solutions to that, but we're working on it with, marketplaces like OpenSea and Rarible and other players like Artblocks and et cetera. And so we're trying to bring all of that level of security to market. I mean, what I've been saying is, blind signing is like unsafe sex. It's awesome until it isn't, and then it can fuck up your life. So that's the rule. That's a rule of thumb. So that was a really long intro, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I went on.
I think analogies that have punch are wise to use. I have a question for you on, you're the chief experience officer primarily on the consumer side. So let's say a friend or an associate calls you up and they say, hey, I'm gonna dump a couple $1 million into crypto. I'm finally taking the plunge. I'm going to buy $1 million in Bitcoin, $1 million in Ethereum. So what do I do with this ledger thing? So somebody calls you, or they just bought an ape, right? They just bought some moonbirds. They just, whatever it is, they have a significant investment made in crypto and or NFTs. They're new to it. They don't have a ledger. They've heard they should have it. And they reach out to you because you have some sort of friendship intact. And they say, Ian, so what do I do? Like, what is their experience today? And what is step 1, 2, 3 for somebody that's ready to protect these valuable assets that they've just acquired?
It's a great question. I mean, you can just go to ledger.com or bestbuy.com or amazon.com and buy a ledger. First of all, you get the ledger home. I think I do have a box on my desk here. You get it home, take it out of the box and go through the setup. The Nano, it's a really simple choice. There's a Ledger Nano X and there's a Ledger Nano S Plus. The Nano X has Bluetooth. The S Plus does not. So super simple choice for you. If you want to use it with Bluetooth with your iPhone, choose the X. If you're like, nah, I'm cool connecting it to my computer with a cable, then choose the S Plus. That's just fine. We're actually adding more and more Bluetooth features. So I think if you have an iPhone, get the X, but the S Plus works well too. I mean, here's a cable that I connect it with. I think I have S Plus in the drawer here. No, that's another X. Anyway, you get the idea. So this is an X. And then you go through the setup. So there's Ledger Live. Download it from the App Store or from Ledger's website if you're doing it on your desktop. And then you go through the setup. Now, really, the only cumbersome part of this process is backing up your 24 words. So like I mentioned earlier, when you do self-custody, you have a seed phrase. That seed phrase is the recovery in case you lose your wallet or it gets stolen or anything happens. So this process is a little cumbersome because the device shows you 24 words. You have to write them all down. You have to verify that you got them right? Because it's important. This is it. This is the one copy that you have. Remember, write them down twice, but make sure they're right. And this part takes a minute. And also, I always say, like, if this part doesn't freak you out a little bit, you probably don't really understand what it is you're doing. But you are literally writing down that recovery phrase so you can always get your value back. So now you need to think really hard about what do you do with that. So there are products you can get. So you put them on fireproof steel. And we sell those on ledger.com as well. But I really encourage people to think hard about, what do I want to do with these 24 words to protect them? Do I want to, some people cut them into 3 pieces and then any 2 pieces can make the 24 words. So you can do some research on this. Some people just take them and they put them in a safe place, a safe deposit box, something like this. But really this I would say is the cumbersome step. We're actually working on something to help people who don't want to worry about that, not need to worry about it. So that'll be later in the year. But I would say that's the big kind of difficult part of setup. Now, once you're there, it's pretty easy because all I need to do from this point on is use Ledger Live to interact, and I can buy crypto, I can trade crypto, I can stake my crypto. We have a credit card. You can do really anything you want to do with your crypto with Ledger Live. And then whenever you interact, you sign your transaction using your hardware wallet. And the reason that's important is because this device, the way it works is it has a secure element, which is a secure chip, and that chip is directly connected to the buttons in the screen. So because of that, you can trust what the screen shows you. With your phone, which is an incredibly useful device, there's a lot of software between your fingers and the blockchain. And you can't trust, I mean, look, we all use Chrome. Chrome has had like 5 security updates in the past 5 weeks, right? Like you cannot trust that Chrome is showing you what you think it is. So what you do is you set up everything, all your transaction on your phone. You're like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to send Ian some Bitcoin, and I want to, swap some Ethereum for some wrapped Ethereum, whatever it is you want to do. You set all that up on your computer, on your phone, and you hit go, and then you just confirm it on your device. So you look at your device and go, is it really what I think it is? Yes, it is. This is where clear signing is important, because if you can't read what it is you're doing, then you can't really verify it. But you verify it, and then that goes straight to the blockchain. That transaction goes straight to the blockchain. And importantly, your seed phrase has never touched the internet, right? So what a software wallet does, even if it's putting it in the secure portion of your phone, it still has to get that out of there to use it and then delete it. That's why you're in danger, and you absolutely cannot put Web3 value on Web2 hardware. It's simply not trustable in the same way that secure hardware is.
Well, bringing up trustable, one thing I noticed, Ian, is that you have a great reputation. People say good things about you behind your back. I've been in different groups and threads, and Ian's doing great things at Ledger. So I think it's important that you know that people are happy that you're at Ledger. They think that you are a good, trustworthy leader. I appreciate you coming and sharing insights with us today. And also, for those that are watching, thank you for your attention. And if you're going to be at NFT.NYC in Times Square, June 20th through the 23rd, Ian will be speaking about why every brand will need an NFT strategy. So there's a lot more that you, Ian, have to share with us besides the things that you shared today. And I imagine if we had more time and you weren't running off for dinner, you and I could keep going, but I want to be sensitive to your prior commitments. So
thank you
so much for joining me.
I want to say one thing about that. I appreciate the trust. The trust really is in the incredible security team at Ledger. This security thing is really what they would call a métier here in France. It is a craft. These guys are security experts. They come out of these incredible schools in France. I challenge you to find a crypto project that doesn't have a French person on it, right? They're everywhere in crypto because the French are good at this. Chip and pin, which is in your credit card, was developed here in France. So really, I'm just this mouthpiece, right? My background is computer science, sure, but I am not a security expert the way the guys at Ledger are. I'm here because they built an incredible product, which is really important to the future of humanity, because we're going to have a lot of digital assets, and self-custody is going to be super important in that context, and security is going to be important in that context. And the team at Ledger over the past 7 years have built this incredible a product, and really, I'm just bringing what they do to more and more people every day. So it's really the best job on the planet.
I feel like you've had a lot of the best jobs on the planet, so you would know. I feel like many times over the last couple of decades, you were like, "No, Ian's got the best job on the planet right now." So you saying
I
that,
appreciate that, and it's true. I've been very lucky in my life, and this is the most fun I've ever had. So you're right. You're right about that.
It says a lot. Ian, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us from Paris. Thank
you for giving me the opportunity. The NFT.NYC is going to be amazing. We were just talking about it today. Like, this is the year. And nothing has been set yet. Like, we don't even know what we're doing in this space yet. And NFT.NYC is going to show that. Everyone's going to come out guns blazing and like put on an incredible show. I can't wait. It's going to be super fun.
We agree completely.
Cool.
All right, everybody that joined us, thanks for your jumping in. Ian, thanks for being